Why, hello. Midway Piper here. I hope all is going well. As you can see from my last video about the Hardcastles, I decided I would give this big Rhodesian another try. I took the softy bit off, and it sits much better. So I had a moment where I was really into the softy bits, but I'll tell you what, I've taken almost all of them off. The pipes just sit so much better for me without the softy bits, so I'm enjoying this one. And see, they just get a great grip on this thing. It's such a big bowl, so I'm happy with that. Still a little bit the balance is still sort of off on it because the bowl is so big, but that being said, it's still a pretty light pipe, so it's definitely clenchable. So glad I gave it another try, because I didn't think I was going to be using it much anymore, or again. So there we go. So what's in it? Give me a moment. All right. What's in it? I broke open a new tin. I bought it a while ago, and I just never. I actually got the whole collection at the time from Smoking Pipes. It's the Two Friends pipe tobacco. So this is it's a GL piece and Jeremy Reeves from Cornell and Deal. It's just a series of blends the two of them put together. This one I'm smoking today is called Deacon's Downfall. Look at that artwork, isn't that great? All of them have this old tattoo art style. And this tin is actually just over a year old. So what is the Deacon's Downfall? Well, it's an enchanting blend of Turkish Latakia, Black Cavendish, Stove Virginias, Orientals, and St. James Perique. It's dark and encompassing with just an edge of exotic spice, potent and exhilarating. Every bowl will leave you enthralled. This is my first time smoking it, and I like it. The bit of Latakia that's in it really helps to it speaks well with the Perique that's in it. I don't get that little like tingling in the back of my throat with I sometimes get with Periques. This is good stuff. This is good stuff. I like it. So anyways, today is going to be another episode of Pipes and Books. But before I get into that, I do want to take a moment and just a quick VR to Sonoran Slinger, you go. You tell him. You tell him who's boss. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just go back and watch his last video. I don't want to get into it right now. Maybe I'll do another video coming up, but anyone who claims that they know all of it and everything about it, nope. I hold the same stance with most things, but especially with religion and parenthood. If anybody knew the proper way to do it, there wouldn't be entire sections at the bookstore on it. So, you tell them. I think, as you said, being a good person, taking care of your family, those are the most important things, regardless of any other beliefs. And if you can't get down with that, then sorry. By the way, it's raining again. See if I can. I don't know if you can see the rain or not, but it's been raining nonstop pretty much since yesterday afternoon. And it's supposed to continue doing this all day through till tomorrow morning. I think we've had like one good day this entire week that hasn't rained. It's getting old. Anyways, so I'll move on to the books part. This week has been a pretty decent reading week. Finished 3 books. Yeah, 3 books. So we'll start off with those real quick. The first one was Northwoods, and I mentioned this in a previous video. It's more about a place than it is about the characters. It's more about the characters that come through the one specific place over time. It's a pretty good book. I do relate a lot more to character work, so I'm not going to say that it was a super exciting read, because it's mostly about a place, all the character work, it's all just kind of happenstance. By the time you start to get to know one of the characters, are gone. So it was good, but I don't think I'll be hunting down his other works anytime soon. Again, nothing wrong with the book, it's just not necessarily what I'm looking for. Still a good read. Next up, I read Maimonides. So this is a biography of the infamous Jewish scholar. scholar of Jewish law, physician, philosopher. Maimonides was a singular figure. His work has extracted all the commanding precepts of Jewish law from the Hebrew Bible and the Talmud, interpreting and commenting on them and translating them into terms that would allow students to lead sound Jewish lives. Became the model for translating God's word into a language comprehensible by all. His work in medicine, which brought him such fame that he became Saladin. You're probably familiar with Saladin from the Crusades. Became Saladin's personal physician and was driven almost entirely by reason and observation. So yeah, he's in the Hebrew world, he's called the Rambam. It was an okay book. To be honest, I didn't get all that much out of it. It's 200 pages or so. And I learned a little bit about him, but it wasn't anything that I was like, oh, that makes sense now, or so, you hear his commentaries and such talked about frequently. So, when referring to, Old Testament writings and such. So, I found that, and I picked it up. It looked interesting. Not a great read. I don't think I'd recommend it to anybody, but, I read it. And then the final book I finished, I don't have a physical copy of it. When I swung by a bookstore and I saw the book and it sounded interesting, seemed interesting, but I didn't think I really wanted to pick it up. And I found there's an audio version, so I just grabbed the audio version and I finished that. It's called The Origin Story: The Trials of Charles Darwin. And it was essentially talking about, the push for Darwin to hurry up and publish what became The Origin of Species, and why it was that he never really showed up at engagements to defend his theory of evolution, and why Huxley was known as his Darwin's bulldog, and why he was the one who was always defending Darwin's arguments. And spoiler alert, it's because Darwin had some stomach problems. That's why he never showed up to anything to debate. That was pretty much the premise of the book. So I'm glad I didn't buy it. It was kind of cool to read about some of the stories as Origins was published and all that kind of stuff. I wish it had gone more into the issues of how religious people, how it affected the religious times. Didn't too much, but again, it's an okay book. So that's what I finished this week. As you can tell, none of them were really all that super exciting upon reflection. But, sometimes that happens. Start a book, think it's going to be really good, and then it turns out to just be okay. The important part is that none of them, or I finished all of them, I should say. So what am I reading now? 2 books. The first one I showed you guys last week. Inside Steve's Brain. It's a book kind of on how Steve Jobs thought. Made really good progress on. I just started the book this week. I have less than 100 pages left. So, pretty good book, actually. I've been enjoying it quite a bit. I'd almost say that was sort of my saving grace last week, as I was doing the other books on audio. Getting to take time and read through that book was kind of the highlight of my reading last week, or this week. And it's not, I've read the full Isaac Walterson, whatever. The big Steve Jobs biography, I have that. I've read that, I think, twice, actually. He's a very interesting guy. Isaacson, that's what it is. Walter Isaacson. There's nothing super new or novel I'm getting out of reading this book. But it's still enjoyable. I think Steve Jobs is easily one of the most interesting people that's lived in quite a long time. So, that is enjoyable. I'll probably finish that book over this weekend. Turn you guys one more time real quick. So much rain. So much rain. The other book that I'm doing right now, this was not a book I expected. I got an email about one of those 2-for-1 sales on Audible. So I've got a selection of books, and you get 2 of them for 1 credit. And one of the books I ended up picking up Lenin. This has turned out to be a very good book so far. Not that far into it. And this is a really good book. I definitely recommend it. It starts off the way this book starts off, and a lot of sort of the popular history that we're all familiar with. We're told that if you know anything about Russian history, it's an interest of mine. We're sort of led to believe that, the Bolshevik Revolution was, this big stand-up of the masses against the Tsar and blah, blah, blah. This book pretty much shuts that down. In the very beginning, is pretty much says if the government cared just this much, the entire Bolshevik Revolution and everything that happened after the fact never would have happened. I think that they had, less than 10,000 people that were involved in the Bolshevik Revolution. They didn't really have any weapons. They didn't. It was complete apathy that the Bolshevik Revolution even happened. Things didn't happen in a timely manner, and it reached the point where they were supposed to be in the Capitol capturing the building, and Lenin was leading this, not from the front, but from I believe it was a room and I think it was the police headquarters. Um, and they were the troops just could not capture the capital, and it's not because it was so well guarded. Um, there's one moment where he's talking about, they'd send in some troops and they'd get in, and then they'd find the alcohol. And instead of taking over, they got drunk. So they'd send in the next round of troops, and they go in, they found the alcohol, and then they get drunk. And it's just complete joke. And then it jumps back in time to sort of the biography of Lenin, so starting off in his early times and whatnot. So anyways, it's been a great read. Very enjoyable. So those are two I'm reading right now. Lenin, Your Stage Brain. So what do I plan on reading as I finish that? I'm not 100% sure yet. I brought out 2 books that I think I'm going to start reading soon, but we'll find out. So first of the 2, I think I showed you last week, there's kind of like a book haul. James Joyce's Dubliners. Be my introduction to James Joyce, so I think I'll probably start with this one. That'll probably be my next audio after I finish Lenin. And then the next physical read after I finish a Steve Jobs book. I'm still on the fence with a couple books. Right now, the one I'm leaning towards is this one called The Bishop's Villa. And this is another one of the Europa Editions books. Like I said in previous videos, I've read several of these. I haven't been disappointed in any of them. If they weren't under the umbrella of Europa Editions, I probably would not have picked them up. But at the same time, I also haven't been disappointed by any of them. So they're good, they're just not something I would normally read. But this one, Tuscany, 1943. The village of Lacasse is miles away from any big city and appears rooted in an earlier century. Seen from there, even the war looks different. It is mostly a matter of waiting, praying, mourning, and mourning. As a fierce winter threatens and orders issued by the local fascist authorities, all Jews must be rounded up and detained at the bishop's villa to await deportation. Shy, solitary, and taciturn Renee is the town's cobbler. His only friend is the widow Anna, a woman with whom he has been secretly in love for years. One evening, Anna disappears into the woods. Renee later learns that a group of resistance fighters has been assembled, and the survivors are imprisoned in the bishop's villa. A woman is among them, they say, a former inhabitant of Lacasse. Renee can no longer stand by and watch as his town, his country, and his one great love become victims of the Nazis and their fascist enablers, and perhaps for the first time in his life, he decides to take actions. Based on the true story of the nefarious World War II collaboration between the Catholic Diocese of Grosseto and the fascist authorities, the Bishop's Villa is a masterful weaving together of fact and fiction by one of Italy's most exciting young writers. So, it's not a huge book. Just over 200 pages, so that's kind of like 200 is kind of the where I draw the line in most instances. Anything under 200 pages generally is not worth, in my eyes, wasting a credit on Audible. And in the amount of time that I have to actually sit down and physically read a book, 200 is certainly doable in a week, or I mean, 2 if I'm super busy, but it's kind of the time frame I give myself, because then I get bored, I move on to the next thing. So but yeah, so that's that. That's today's Friday Reads. So that all being said, I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.